I'm here to talk fandom and shave, and I'm all out of razors.
I need an intro.
Just start the damn video!
So creativity and creating. Here's the thing, guys. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I have talked myself out of creating. And this goes right back to what we've talked about before. Remember when I said there's just too much fandom, that it's impossible to keep up? Creativity suffers because of this. It really does. Here's the thing. You could say, well, you need to be creative and make up your own stuff. And I could do that. But here's what I'm getting at, guys. Years ago, I decided that I was going to write Star Trek stuff. I was going to write a Star Trek book. And I was really into this idea. Then as I got to study in and I saw how vast it was and how many other books had already been created and how many comic books and just how expansive the world was and how it felt impossible. It felt so big that I couldn't get into it. And I've thought the same thing for superheroes and whatnot. I've thought about writing for superheroes, just writing my own stuff and going at it. And then it's like, okay, well, I can't, like, I'm going to get shit on by the fan base because I'm going to come out and it's just going to be just like this super fan shit. It's going to be, hey, I really want to do this. And then I write for somebody like Superman, or I write for somebody like Batman or Spider-Man or Wolverine. And then here comes the big fans that know more than I do. And bam, I'm done. I'll never care to write again because that one time that I stuck my neck out, I got shit on. And you could say, okay, well, Bill, you yourself said back when you started Fandom Night, back when it was Reploid Productions, some of your friends weren't too keen on the idea. This is true. And I said, if we never do it, if we never even try, we have no right to complain. That was a very different Bill. And people change. But there was a level of confidence at that moment where I said, you know what? If we don't even try, we can't complain. Like, we could be the next James Rolfe. That was a big deal back then. He was like literally #1 on YouTube when we got there. Like, we could be the next Ray William Johnson. We could start something that nobody sees coming. We could cover all kinds of fandom. We could talk video games and different situations. We could talk movies and dramas and just go crazy. And we covered all kinds of things. And I feel like we tried so much and we were part of these fandoms that were so big that it drowned us. And we could never climb above 300 subscribers. We couldn't do it. So we left Reploid Productions and went for a full-scale reboot. The idea was to create a focused channel that wasn't so crazy, that had 2 or 3 things, and go from there. Fandom Night started out as like news things. We would get together once every 2 weeks and we would discuss a fandom topic, and the rest of the week I would just post news articles about what's happening in comic books, what's happening in video games, what's happening in movies, and so on and so forth. And then it evolved and we accidentally got the Sentai Review going and things of that nature, and it became a very big thing. But during that time, something changed in me. And I began to talk myself out of things. I wanted to write stories for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought that I really understood it. I thought I knew those characters and loved them enough that I could write my entire saga. And if I was lucky, who knows, maybe somebody would pick it up and it'd be big. And maybe I'd end up literally writing for the Turtles one day. And somehow that got killed. And I think what happened was this. I began to realize just how big this material really is. And as that happened, I began to feel like I didn't have quite the grasp on it that I thought I did. And this backfired in multiple ways. I didn't want to write things for like the Power Rangers because it was so big. I was never going to be able to write something that was ever going to get picked up by the company. So why? I wanted to write for X-Men. I quickly found out that that was a bad idea. The continuity is too broken, and there's no way I could ever fix it, and there's no way I could ever please the fan base. So why? I thought about writing for Star Trek, and I actually started a project which got a ways in. I planned out a nine set series of books that was going to feature a crew that I was going to make. And there were stand-ins for the names and character tropes, like I used Nick, but then I changed him just enough so he would be an engineer, and I was going to use Shane, and I changed him enough so that he would be the pilot, and I added little character tropes and kind of caricatured our own personalities to be bigger than they really are. And that was the idea, was to create this ship. And then I got a couple of stand-ins that didn't really match anybody else's personalities. Like I used a guy called Construct, and he had a very interesting story, at least I thought. And I had another character. He was a Vulcan called Beanock, and he was going to be a full Vulcan, and he was going to be the way I got around science questions that none of us really knew. So if I ran into something, Beanock would have the answer. I'd look it up, Wikipedia, science thing, or ask somebody that knew more than I did, and I was going to use that. I created a doctor. Her name was Sheena, and she was also going to be a social commentary because Sheena was transsexual. She was a man. In order to play the Star Trek angle, I did this in multiple ways. She was a Trill who then became a joined Trill, and then upon becoming a joined Trill, decided that he was not comfortable as who he was, and psychologically he saw himself as a female and would live a happier life as a female. And this caused a big debate as to whether that was the actual desire of a past life, whether that was the person, the actual Trill at hand, or if it was caused by the symbiote. And it was going to be a big problem that this was happening because this had never happened before. No Trill had ever combined with a symbiote and then made a decision like this. So it was very questionable as to who was making the decision and what the implications of this would mean if it went through. Well, rather than deal with these social attacks, he left his planet, which I believe is called Trill, and came to the Federation specifically to do what he believed his life put him on the path, what he felt he wanted to do, which was he believed himself that he felt like he was wrong in the person that he was, and he would live a happier life as a woman. And if that's his thing, that's his thing. And so that character would then become a woman. So I would be able to make a type of social commentary as well. So these were just some of the things that I wanted in my own Star Trek book. Well, that was only one thing I really told you, but there were a lot of things planned out. Well, I then got the writing and kind of came to the conclusion that, man, Star Trek is so big, and every time I think I've got something figured out, somebody knows something I don't know, or there's more information on the ships, or there's something these guys don't agree with and these guys don't agree with, and it's so big and it's so expansive, and I don't know. I don't even know if I care. So I talked myself out of that one. And then there were original concepts that I had in mind to write my own comic book. And I talked myself out of that too, because I came to this nasty conclusion that comic books were so big and the big leaguers were so big that there was literally no way that I could make a comic book that could compete. I believed that. You want honesty? I hate myself for believing that. I've gotten over it quite a bit, and I'm going back to writing, and I'm going to start telling myself, look, if you never try, because that's right. That's what started Reploid Productions. And look, if we're not even willing to try, we're not allowed to complain. We could be the next thing, or we could be nobody. We don't know. Turns out we never did become the best thing ever. We never did become the next big thing. But to be honest, I'm proud of what we've done, and I'm happy with what we've done. I've met some interesting people. I've built myself a small little social network, and I've been able to do videos, and I did it, and it was big enough and interesting enough and taught me enough that it actually earned me the job I'm doing right now. I am a professional videographer. I can say that. I can say that. That's a real thing. It's something that I do. Now, mind you, the equipment that I have at home is nowhere near the equipment I have for the company I work at, which can get me all the nice toys that I can play with. But look, that's what I mean. I started at nothing, and I swung for the fences, and I did get something out of it. And so I need to stop talking myself out of these things. I'm a creative person, okay? Sometimes people would argue that's not true, but I feel like I am. I feel like I'm a naturally creative person. I tell stories, I analyze, I make things big, I enjoy fandom, I like creativity. But fandom has become so crippling and so large because of consumerism. It really is. That's a big part of it. Consumerism breeds the largeness of these activities. If people hadn't continually bought Zelda games over and over and over and over and over, it wouldn't be one giant, weird, confusing timeline that like breaks into alternate timelines. None of that shit would have mattered. It would have been like 10 or 12 games, maybe. And they just would have been games that like people play. That have been like, I freaking love the third one. Okay. You do. That's great. But that's not what happens. See, these properties, they come out like Spider-Man, and then they're beloved by billions, and then they make billions, so they keep on going. And then they get really big, and everybody that gets into them at a certain point is doomed to be loved and hated. And that was part of what I fell into, where I was constantly talking myself out of creating. Because I was like, I'm never going to be able to create something that stands up to these other comic book industries. I'm never going to be able to say something that actually fits in the Star Trek universe perfectly and makes everybody happy. And you know what? Fuck everybody. I'm serious, and I gotta be that way. We have to be that way. Guys, if you are creative and you have talked yourself out of creating over and over and over and over and over again like I have, stop. Think about it. Fuck them. We can't win. We can't. Even if we do win, we can't win. So you know what? Why not just go for it? And not like that stupid meme. Just do it or whatever. But realistically, guys, look, the only thing holding us back is ourselves. There are billions upon billions upon billions of ideas that suck. They fucking suck, but they make it. I have sucky ideas. I have real good ones too. I believe I do. And I'm going to start concentrating on that. I am going to make a small-time RPG. I'm going to write the entire story out. I'm going to get it all finalized. I'm going to make the levels. I'm going to do it. Because why shouldn't I? Sure, it's not going to be Final Fantasy, but you know what? Maybe it will be. My idea is a game series called Maiden. And I already know the world map, and I already know the story, and I already know the kinds of people that live there, and I already know a good portion of the mythology because I've been telling this story and adapting it quite literally since I was 16 years old. I used to create my D&D campaigns off Maiden, the world that I created. So, I have talked myself out of being creative and creating content over and over and over and over and over again. Not anymore. Which is the reason this channel is going to talk about things that have already been talked about. I don't give a fuck that this guy already talked about it. I don't give a fuck that this guy has that opinion. And I don't give a fuck that Linkara beat us to it first. Fuck it. Got a lot of shit to say, a lot of shit to write, a lot of shit to do. And you know what? I only hold myself back by not doing it. So, yeah. That's right. Gonna create stuff. Bitches.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.